a journey which, gives you a very, very deep cultural insight into the Nepal region, into the life of Sherpas, into how Everest as a mountain really works. So, from that perspective, you're going to have very, very different experiences. For Samir and me, when we started Adventure Pulse, one of our first treks really was the Everest Base Camp. And I think over the years, just personally between Samir and me, we've done this trek over 65 times. At Adventure Pulse, we've done it over 128 treks plus to the Everest Base Camp. So I can assure you that, you're really in safe hands. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take you through some information about this trek, which is going to take the next 8 to 10 minutes. We want to share some logistical information. More importantly, want to share some information about the physical fitness preparation of it, and of
Good
course,
there.
some basic logistics. And then the idea is to open up the forum for question and answers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like quickly share my screen so that you have like a visual aid. Um, so the maximum altitude that you would be reaching at the Everest Base Camp, or you can potentially reach, is 5,545 meters. Now, this is the height of the summit of Kalapathar. The height of Everest Base Camp is 5,300 meters. 5,365 is what we say. So you're a little short of 18,000 feet. You're very close to 18,000 feet. But Kalapathar is this mountain which is just next to Everest Base Camp, and it is a very beautiful mountain, usually climbed in the early hours of the morning to get sunrise views on Mount Everest. And if some of you plan to climb this, then of course you would be reaching a height of 5,550. Okay, so what is the route that we are really going to take? This is how we kind of plan our journey, and I'm going to be spending 2 minutes on the map, giving you a little orientation. So if you look right at the bottom of the screen, where the small little plane sign is, that is where the famous Lukla airport lies, right? And I'm sure all of you've heard of Lukla. You've probably seen some videos on Instagram or on YouTube about this very famous, notorious airport, which is the gateway to the Everest Valley, the Khumbu Valley. So our journey really starts from here. We fly into Lukla, and on the same day as we fly in, we trek to this place called Phagding, which, if you see in the map, is lower than Lukla. It's roughly about 2,600 meters, 2,600 or 2,650. So you actually, the first day, you're not gaining any altitude. So it's quite good because it gives you a chance, it gives your body a chance to kind of trek, acclimatize to the temperatures. Your body kind of gets used to the fact that you're here for a trek. And then the next day is when you do a big jump to this place called Namche Bazaar, which is 3,400 meters, right? Once we reach Namche, we have a rest and an acclimatization day built in. And from there, we kind of move right. If you see the big yellow dot called Dabuche, and just under that it says Tengboche, which says 3,867 meters. I hope you're able to get it on the map. Tengboche is a very famous monastery, and that is a major landmark that we will have to cross. And then onwards, we go further right to this place called Dingboche, which is at 4,350 meters. This is also a place where we acclimatize for one extra day. So I don't know how many of you are well acquainted with the itinerary, but the way it really works is that on the Everest Base Camp trek, you you start and you walk the first 2 days, which is Lukla and Namche, day one, day two, and day three you rest and acclimatize. Again, day four you walk to Debuche, and day five you walk to Dengboche, which is day four and day five. Day six again you rest and acclimatize. So if you see the pattern, 2 days of walk and gaining height, one day of rest and acclimatization. Then again, day three, day four, day five, and day six, you rest and acclimatize. Day seven, you walk again, and by day eight, you're already at Everest Base Camp. So it's a very well spaced out trek as such. Of course, when you're coming back, you don't really need to acclimatize. So you're actually covering the journey that you took 8 days to kind of go up all in 3 days. Because while coming down, it's not about gaining height, it is not about acclimatization, it is only about covering the distance, right? And after a trek like that, all of you just want to kind of get home. So the idea is to cover as much distance as you can, right? So from this place, Dingboche, we move onwards to Labuche, which is at 4,900 meters. Then we follow this map again to this place called Gorakshep at 5,000 plus meters. And then, of course, the red dot towards the top right of the screen, which is the Everest Base Camp, which is about 5,365 meters. So this is the route that we're going to take through the Everest Valley, right? And some of the places that, every day, honestly, you will be crossing an iconic place. For example, day two, you will be at the famous Namche Bazaar. Day three, you will rest and acclimatize there. Day four, you cross the 4,000-meter mark, you hit Dingboche. When you cross the famous town of Dabuche, and then so on and so forth. So every day really is very different. There is no monotony that kind of sets in because it's very, very exciting. So that's how the Everest Base Camp trek, that's how the route map will work. And of course, we are okay to share this with you later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move on to the single most important thing that we feel that we need you to focus on, which is your physical fitness preparation, right? Logistics completely, you can leave it up to us. Our team is going to manage it in Nepal. But what is it that we need from your side? Now that we have, let's say, roughly about 45 days to go for the trek, and I'm sure all of you started your fitness journey at least 2, 3 months before this call. And you're already at a particular stage in your fitness journey. What is it that we kind of really need you to focus on now for the next 6 to 7 weeks? Essentially, we need you to focus on building more and more cardio and endurance levels going higher up. And of course, a little focus on strengthening as well, but more leg strengthening. So if you really have to kind of dedicate time, we would say that you do at least 3 or 4 days of cardio and endurance related exercises in a week. Dedicate one day to kind of focus on your legs and do strength training, and 1 or 2 days is about just stretching and giving your body some rest. So please don't work out like 7 days a week because your body will not get enough time to rest and recover. At least give a gap of one day, if possible, even 2 days, right? During the week, when you're pushing yourself, you can even kind of do it twice, morning and evening. Now, what do we really mean by, high endurance or cardiovascular activities? So, if you are, let's say, going for a regular 45-minute walk around your apartment complex, that is not going to be enough for a trek like the Everest Base Camp, right? We need you to get out of your comfort zone and we need you to push yourself. So if you're into running or jogging, that's a great exercise. If not, we need you to get on a treadmill on an incline and spend about 30 to 40 minutes walking, but also something which is not the most easy. So put it on an incline of 6 or 8, put a walking speed of about 7 to 7.5, which is kind of semi jogging. And then you are on the treadmill spending that much time. And one exercise that we highly, highly recommend that all of you should get into your routine is climbing staircases. If very simple, if you live in a building which is 10 floors, you climb the building once, you take the lift down, you climb it twice, you take the lift down. So in the process, if you do it 4 times, you'll be climbing 40 floors. The idea is that by mid-March, even if you increase it by one floor every week in the next, let's say, 5 weeks, you will be able to get to about 60 to 70 floors easily. And you should ideally be climbing staircases at least twice a week. It's a very short but effective 20-minute workout. If you can do it in the mornings, before you get to work or you start work, just get out of your apartment, climb stairs. You don't even have to go very far. So that becomes very effective. And then the last 2 weeks, starting 5th of March or 10th of March. We also recommend that you carry a small little day pack with about 2 to 3 kgs of some weight on your day pack, because trust me, after day 4, a 3 kg backpack starts feeling like a 7 kg backpack, because you've already been walking for a few days. Your body is not used to carrying a bag every day for 7 to 8 hours. And plus, the altitude also kind of plays its role. So, if you practice with a backpack, that's great as well. Just remember that you need to play with your heart rate. Any activity that you're indulging in, if your heart rate has not gone up even for, like, let's say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then that workout has not really been the most effective. Every workout, you kind of need to focus on the fact that at least, 5 to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, there is a zone where you're getting out of your comfort zone and your body and your mind is telling you to stop. That is the kind of workouts we really want you to do in the next 45 days. And this, of course, is the single most important thing and will decide whether the trek really does become a punishment for you or a very enjoyable experience for you, especially in the last 3 days when we gain a lot of altitude and things become tough, right? So, that's about the physical fitness preparation. I'm just going to quickly talk about a little about the accommodation as well, so that this question, if you have any questions about the accommodation, we can answer it later. But the way the accommodation works on the Everest Base Camp trek is that for most part of it, you have very comfortable accommodation. Both options are available. You have rooms with attached washrooms, and you also have accommodation wherein there are no attached washrooms, but it works like a hostel, wherein towards the end of the corridor, there will be 2 or 3 washrooms, right? So, of course, depending on your personal choice, you can choose and opt for what you want. But this is how typical accommodation looks like. There'll just be 2 beds, one table in between, and that's it. There's nothing else in the room. So you just keep your duffel bags next to you, and you just you use the room to rest, to sleep, and then the next day, again in the morning, we are up and about, and we're trekking again. So the entire duration, the accommodation is okay except these 2 days. And these are 2 days that we need you to mentally prep for, which is Labuche and Gorakshep. Now, both these places, they are in terms of altitude. Labuche is almost 5,000 meters and Gorakshep is about 5,100 meters. So the accommodation here is far basic. There is no concept of rooms with attached washrooms in Labuche and Gorakshep. So even if you want them, they are not available. So you have to kind of rough it out. I'll be honest with you, the bathrooms sometimes are not the best, because primarily not because the owners don't want to keep it clean. The owners don't even end up using it. It is the trekkers, right? And there are like 20 or 30 other trekkers staying in the same lodge. And the problem that what really happens is that the water freezes. At 5,000 meters, there is no access to flowing water. So even if there is a drum in the washroom, to clear out, let's say the toilets, the water freezes. So people can't really do much. And as a result, sometimes, they do get messy. And if they are, you can let our staff know, we will let the owners know, and they will get someone to clean it. But, when you're packing your toiletries, things like sanitizers, wet wipes, tissue paper rolls, these become extremely, extremely important, as I said, especially for the last 2 to 3 days. These 2 days, you're anyways at high altitudes, you're kind of struggling a little bit. The washrooms are not the cleanest, the rooms are not the best. So overall, it's a real test of all your training, physical and mental, that you've been doing all these years. Um, what are the kind of clothes we need? The first 5 things mentioned are extremely important. We need you to carry 2 pair of thermals at least, and then the rest of the layers, like, of course, t-shirts, fleece, down jacket, windproof. Now, of course, you will not be wearing all these layers at one time, but depending on the weather, you will be changing these layers. Layering becomes extremely important on how your entire trekking day goes by. because if you're overheating, your body will be dehydrated, and that's the worst thing that can happen to you in the mountains. And if you're feeling cold, then you can just fall sick very easily. So what we need you to do is we need you to not get one really big thick jacket, but we need you to get layers of jackets. So depending on the weather, if it's a windy day, you just wear your fleece and you wear your windproof over that. If it's a hot day, you're just wearing a full sleeve t-shirt and your windproof over that. You're not even wearing your fleece. The last 3 days, you're possibly wearing your thermals, your down, and your windproof on top of that. So the fifth layer, which is your wind cheater or your windproof, actually has to be in size big enough that it can fit over your clothes. If you just get it right, then sometimes it will not fit over your down jacket, and then that could be a struggle. So we will, of course, with some of you, we've already shared the list of things to carry, and we will share it again as well. So if you have any questions around it, you can ask us. If some of you don't have these things, it's absolutely fine. You can shop from Kathmandu as well. In India, the options are limited, and the only place that you will really shop from is Decathlon, more or less, unless you're based abroad. But Kathmandu, the Tamil area, and some of you have, been there because you've done the Annapurna Base Camp trek with us. Um, it has some really good options in terms of shopping. Original showrooms of good brands, plus even first copy shops which sell really good gear. So if you have a jacket missing, or a socks missing, or a cap missing, or a windproof jacket missing, or a day pack missing, we highly, highly recommend that please buy it from Kathmandu and don't buy it from India, because the kind of stuff you will get in Kathmandu is way better than what you will get here in your city. So the idea is that whatever you have, you pack, you make a list of the things that you don't have, and the hotel that you'll be staying in, it's around the shopping area only. So the moment you get out of your hotel, within 5 minutes, you will literally have access to about 50 trekking shops selling really good gear. So uh, if you don't have anything on the list, then buy it from Kathmandu. All right. So on that note, these are the things that I wanted to really cover. This is a photo of, some of the school children. I'm sorry about that. Some of the school children that we've taken to the Everest Base Camp. We do school expeditions to the Everest Base Camp regularly. Kids from the age of 13 to 16 trek with us. This year also we have a couple of schools lined up for Everest Base Camp and for Kilimanjaro as well. So the reason we are telling you this is that do not worry about safety. If parents today are okay to send their children to the Everest Base Camp, of course, as adults, you're absolutely fine and you're safe. So there's nothing to be worried about. If any of you is anxious, please don't be. Look at these young kids at the age of 13, 14, happy and singing and dancing at the Everest Base Camp, and you will be the same. So, on that note, these are the things that I wanted to cover. I'm really sorry for the long monologue, but just some information that we really wanted you to have. Now, let's just open it up to questions and answers. So, we can go one by one. Any questions that you have, please go ahead and ask.
Hi, may I?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Megha. Looking forward to being with everybody now on the trek. I had a few queries. One was regarding the Diamox dosage. So, if I believe you can either take it as a preventive or a curative, and how does it work, and what would work best for us? Because I've never had it before, and I believe it does have mild side effects and everything. So, yeah, I'd just like to understand further on that, please.
All right, Megha, that's a really good question, and I'm sure some of the other participants, trekkers, also may have that question. For some of you who may know or may not know, Dimox basically is a medicine which is used for acute mountain sickness, for symptoms of acute mountain sickness, which typically are headache, nausea, and loss of appetite. These are typically symptoms that we start seeing in people when they cross 3,500 meters, which is upwards of Namche Bazaar. Now, as Megha said, a lot of trekkers start taking Dimox before the the trek starts. So the previous day when you reach Kathmandu on the 27th of March, you're going to be start trekking on the 28th of March. So 27th only they start taking a 125 mg dose of Diamox, and they take it every day for the next 10 days, which is a preventive dose, so that chances of AMS hitting you are less. And then of course there's a reactive dose. So we see if you're not feeling well, you have a headache, and it's you're not feeling the most comfortable, then of course we give you a Diamox. But then the rule of the Diamox is that from the day you start, let's say you start on day 4 of the trek for whatever reason, till the time you don't finish the trek, you have to take it every day. You can't stop it in between. So, Megha, we can only talk about our experience, of course, with the disclaimer that, we are not really doctors, not medical practitioners. So we are not in our capacity allowed to kind of give any medical advice. But on our experience of the Everest Base Camp, honestly, it's a complete 50-50. If you have trekked before, if you have any kind of trekking experience before, even if it was a 2 day or a 3 day trek going up to even 3,000 meters, uh,
वो
you
तो
know,
है ही
you
यार.
you have some background, and you can essentially choose not to take Diamox. Umang, can you go on mute?
Sorry, sorry.
So you can essentially choose not to take Diamox, and you can take it as reactive. Now, if you do some basic things right, which essentially is three things, is what we really tell people for acclimatization. One is drink a lot of water. 4 liters of water a day is almost like a compulsion on the Everest Base Camp trek. If you're not having 4 liters of water a day, the next day your body will give you symptoms and give you signs of you possibly not feeling well. So that's one. Second is, in the mountains, we say that what is a good pace? Is it the fast pace or the slow pace? Not really. The best pace in the mountains is your pace. So we really need you to walk slow, and we really need you to walk at your pace. It doesn't matter if the group is 30 minutes ahead of you or 30 minutes behind you. What matters is that you are comfortable and you are walking at a pace where you're not getting extremely breathless. We have enough staff. There will always be a guide who will be leading the trek. There'll always be a guide who will be trailing, independent of how slow that person is, and there'll be always a person in the middle. Everest Base Camp, by the nature of it being a commercial trek, you can't really get lost. You will never get lost on the EBC trail. The trails are very wide. So, as far as you're walking slow and you're drinking enough water, you can kind of defer Diamox to a reactive dose. But as I said, it's only our personal experience. If you feel that it's a big trek that you're undertaking, and it's probably only once in a lifetime that you're going to do it, and you want to be very safe, and you want to start taking Diamox as preventive, it is absolutely fine. And we usually also recommend that you speak to a doctor and also get their advice, because they'll also be able to advise you from a different perspective. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I think so. Maybe check with the doctor also for the same.
Yes, I didn't mean to confuse you, but yeah, there is no direct answer to this. But as I said, if you take our advice, you can take it as reactive.
I think it's about understanding your own body and then deciding what to do, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
All right. And one more thing that I wanted to ask was regarding if do we have any IC sections? Will we have IC sections and all that? So, gators or things like that may be required. Will you provide them, etc.?
No, that's a good question, Megha. So, no, we won't really have any icy sections. The only part you will probably be walking on some ice. Now, ice and snow is different, but the only part you will be walking on ice will probably be the last 5 minutes when you're actually reaching the Everest Base Camp rock. That's it. So you don't really need gaiters, you don't really need crampons. There could be fair bit of snow the last 2 days once you cross Labuche and Gorakshe. But how the snow also works is that because there's so many people walking on the trail, there will be no snow on the trail. There'll be a lot of snow alongside, but not on it. So you're comfortable, but what we do recommend is that you should really have a trekking pole with you. That really helps to kind of sometimes find good balance and good grip. Again, Kathmandu is a great place to pick up a trekking pole. So if you don't have one, don't even bother picking up one from India. But we don't really expect any icy conditions. So you don't need gaiters or crampons. What you do definitely need is a good quality pair of shoes. And for everybody on the call, if you have already picked up your trekking shoes, it's great. If you don't have a pair of trekking shoes, we will share the requirement with you, and we recommend that you do pick up the trekking shoes in the next 2 weeks if possible, because you need at least a month to kind of break in into your trekking shoes. You need to be wearing them for your walks, for your workouts, for your grocery shopping, even to your office on a Friday, because the more you are wearing your trekking shoes, the better off you will be on the trek. Other than that, I think no special equipment is really required.
And sorry, but one last question.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, regarding a day pack, I was just planning to get one. So if there is something you recommend, or I believe even Namche has quite a few stores that you can shop from, like nice stores. So, I mean, any recommended day pack, since I'll be offloading the remaining, and I'll be traveling a couple of sectors to reach Kathmandu from Tinsukia, Assam. So, if you could just help me plan what kind of pieces of luggage that I can carry with me for the sake of convenience, since we are limited to just one piece of hand baggage and one piece of check-in. So, if you could just help me with that, and which day pack recommended
No,
to
absolutely.
buy.
So, Mega, I'm going to just take this question in the reverse order. Now, what happens on the trek is that you essentially will have a big duffel bag or a rucksack and a day pack. Now, what I mean by a duffel bag or a rucksack is that all of you will be offloading. That means that your bigger duffel bag will be carried by the porters. You will not be carrying that, and you will only be carrying your day pack, which will essentially have your jacket, your passport, your phone, your water bottle, and some snacks, more or less. Now, there is a limit to the weight allowance that you have in the Lukla flight, and also what the porter would carry, which is typically in the range of about 10 kgs. So for your trek, the bigger bag that you will have, that the porter will carry, and which you can also check in the Lukla flight, is about 10 kgs, right? So essentially, what really happens is that because the porter is carrying it on his back, we recommend that your bigger bag is something which is without wheels, and also is not a hard base. It has to be something soft so that it doesn't hurt the back of the porters. Now, each porter typically carries two bags, so that is about 20 kgs is what each porter would carry. So, uh, now talking about the day pack, Mega, if the thing is that again, if you're shopping from India, then your only option is Decathlon, more or less, or Colombia primarily. So for a good day pack, we would highly recommend that you buy it from Kathmandu. You have both options of first copy and original day packs of the likes of a North Face, an Osprey, a Deuter, and any brand that you may name. Uh, but if you don't have it, then the kind of day packs you will get in Kathmandu would be extremely good. We will send one of our staff members with you. In fact, with all of you, if you want to shop something, and they will assist you also, and they'll tell you also that you can buy this one or you can buy that one, whatever comes in your price range. So, what you can do is that when you're traveling, you can carry a big duffel or a rucksack and a small hand carry suitcase, and you can buy the day bag from Kathmandu. Now, talking about the hand carry suitcase or another small bag, the reason is that you can, and it's recommended that you leave some stuff behind in the hotel in Kathmandu as well, because if when you're traveling, you're typically wearing denims or comfortable clothing and maybe sneakers, and you will not need all these things on the trek. So you can actually leave a small suitcase or a small bag safely in the hotel cloakroom, and you can pick it up on your way back. So along with whatever you're carrying, you can also carry a small stroller to leave it behind in Kathmandu.
All right, I think that pretty much clears the doubts that I have. I'll get back to you in case of
Yes,
anything
Megha, we'll be
else.
happy
Thank
to
you
get
so
on a
much.
call if you need anything else. Alok, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Swaraj, do we need to carry any cash?
Oh, yes, Alok, that's a really good question, and thank you for bringing it up. You do need to carry cash, and let me elaborate why. Now, all your expenses more or less on the trek when it comes to meals are covered. Your breakfast, lunch, dinner is covered. You're also covered with three beverages, which is one, let's say, set of tea or coffee three times in a day. But what happens is that there are three, four expenses that will come up, and I will explain what. One is that all these lodges have Wi-Fi access. So if you want to pick up Wi-Fi, you can directly buy it from the reception of the lodge that you're staying in to be in touch with your family. Now, this Wi-Fi can vary anywhere from 500 to 800 Nepali rupees, which is typically 800 Nepali rupees is 500 Indian rupees. The second thing is that there are a lot of genuinely good bakeries on the way while trekking. And trust me, the smell of a fresh apple pie and good cappuccino can get the better of all of us, right? So if you're trekking and you're tired and you fresh that, baked chocolate pastry and that Americano, you will walk into that bakery. These bakeries are, because they're in the mountains, they're expensive. Also, it'll typically cost 500, 400, 500 Nepali rupees for a cup of coffee. So, sometimes the last 2 days, Labuche and Gorakshep, there is no charging available in the rooms. So there's only common charging. And they will, you have to pay for it. So essentially, it'll be like 200 Nepali rupees for an hour to charge your phone, for example, or another 500 Nepali rupees to get a packet of extra biscuits or your Wi-Fi. So the way we really recommend is that you carry uh, a perspective that you carry thousand equivalent of 1,000 Indian rupees every day. So if you're trekking for 10 days, carry about 10,000 Indian rupees, which roughly translates to about 15 to 16,000 Nepali rupees, which is kind of enough to take care of your miscellaneous expenses on the trek, especially the Wi-Fi and the coffee and all that. So that's a simple calculation. 1,000 rupees, Indian rupees per day. We can convert the money for you when you come to Kathmandu. That is something that we can do for all of you. So of course, if you want to carry more, you want to keep another 3, 4,000, 5,000 as buffer, you can do that. But a simple calculation is 1,000 Indian rupees every day for 11 days of trekking. So that's what we're looking at. And Alok, I'm really sorry. Pankaj, I think you'd also raised your hand. This call is going to get disconnected now in the next 30 seconds or so. So I really apologize for that. But I also sincerely request that if all of you can join back the same link, we'll just spend another 10 minutes on the Q&A, and Pankaj and Alok, we can continue with your questions. So just request you to disconnect and join the same link within a minute or so. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.